Welcome back guys to our next class. Today I will introduce to you the 4 SOP of using the danger zone SNR. So we have 4 situations for the danger zone SNR. Please pay attention, make sure that you jot down and remember the SOP. It is very important. If you remember the SOP, then it will be much easier for you to look at the chart and you know what step you're going to do next. Because with this SOP, then only we will be able to identify the right and the correct zone of the danger zone SNR. So let's get started to our class. Let's look at the 4 SOPs of using the danger zone SNR. The first, when the price comes into the danger zone SNR at the support, when there is a rejection happens at the zone, then we will look for the buy setup. The next one is when the price comes into the danger zone SNR on the resistance, then we will look for the sell setup when there is a rejection of confirmation. The third, when the price comes into the danger zone SNR at the support, when there is a breakout happen, price comes back to test as a new resistance, there is a confirmation of rejection, then we will look for the sell setup. And lastly, when the price comes into the danger zone resistance, there's a breakout, and then price come back to test as a new support. When there is a rejection of the new support, then only we will look for the buy setup. So let's have a look at the SOP. Let's look at the first SOP. When the price comes to the danger zone SNR at the support, when there's a rejection happen, then we will look for buy setup. So first, we move to the weekly time frame. So at the weekly time frame, we mark the horizontal line. Next, we mark the second movement. When we mark the second movement, we will know that this will be a strong support. And this will be our shadow or the wick at the candlestick chart. So we mark the whole zone from the edge of the support all the way to the wick or the shadow of the candlestick. So this is our danger zone SNR weekly at the support. Okay. So when price comes into this zone, the first thing that we need to look is that when the price at the H4 or the daily time frame clears above the zone with a sign of rejection. For example, in this rejection is the bullish engulfing. There could be the 3 white soldiers and so on. Next, at the H1 and all the way down to the M5 time frame, we can look for the setup. The potential setup normally first is always the QMR, okay, the Quasimodo reversal. After a QMR occurred, normally comes the continuation setup, which is the SNRC1, SNRC2, and the QMC. So all of this you can look at the H1 up to the M5. Sometimes when the daily candle reject as a bullish engulfing, then the setup also would be at the H4 and below. So price come in back to this zone and continue to go upward as a new trend. Let's look at the second SOP for the rejection case. So when the price comes at the resistance of the danger zone SNR, when there is a confirmation of rejection, then we will entry a sell setup. In this case, this is the weekly time frame. So here's the candlestick move up and down. This is the shadow of the candlestick. So first we move to the weekly time frame. Second, we go to the line chart. Third, we mark the horizontal line and also the second movement. This is to validate that this resistance is strong. Next, we change back to the candlestick chart and mark the zone from the edge of the resistance all the way up to the shadow or the wick of the candlestick. So this is our danger zone SNR at the weekly time frame at the resistance. So price comes back into this zone when there is a confirmation of rejection Since this is a weekly time frame, the confirmation that we need to look is at the daily time frame, or the most minimum is the H4 time frame. So once this rejection confirmation close the candle outside of the zone, then we can look for sell setup. Normally in this area, they will come up a QMR setup, then go with the continuation setup at the time frame of H1 and below if the rejection is at the H4. If the rejection is at the daily time frame, then we can look setup from H4 and below. So normally price will make a QMR first, okay, then only comes with the continuation setup. And sometimes price doesn't make QMR, it straight away goes to the continuation setup. Whatever it is, make sure you have confirmation before we enter the setup. So price comes back into this area and continue on the new trend. Let's look at the third SOP, which is when there's a price breakout at the danger zone. In this case, it's the support. Normally, the price breakout, we will look into the daily time frame and the weekly time frame. However, in this case, I'm going to show you the example SOP of daily time frame, and later on in the example, I will show you in the weekly time frame. The reason why is because normally the breakout often occurred at the daily time frame. So for example, this is a daily time frame. So we have the support, we have the resistance here, and this is the second movement. So often price break the breakout of the resistance or the support when there is a second movement. As I mentioned earlier, that the second movement we should also mark as our danger zone, support or resistance. The reason why is because danger zone, support, resistance marking is as a monitoring zone. So we can use it to monitor what is going on with the price. In this case, the daily time frame has a support and a resistance, and we're going to see what happens when the price react at the second movement of the daily time frame. So we go to the line chart, then we mark our horizontal line, and then we mark our second movement. Next, we move to the candlestick chart and mark our zone from the edge of the support of the second movement here all the way to the shadow or the wick of the candlestick. So this will be our danger zone SNR daily at the support of the second movement in the daily time frame. When we go to the H4 time frame, this is how it looks like at the H4. So it will be the same this as a support, okay, and then this will be the wick. So price will do a zigzag here. This will be the second movement of the H4 time frame. Now the breakout happens. Normally when the breakout happens in this area, it will be the H4 time frame, not the H1, not the M30. So guys, please be aware in this matter, okay? So at the daily time frame, normally this has not closed. The candlestick of the daily time frame has not closed. So we look at the H4 time frame because we do not want to miss a lot of opportunity for us to find setup. So at the H4 time frame, there's a clean breakout. As you can see, this is the danger zone daily. So at the H4, price will close a one candlestick. This is called the Marubozu. After the candle has closed, price will normally come back to this area again, which it just broke, to test as a new resistance at the H4 time frame, if the danger zone is at the daily time frame. So let's look at the confirmation of rejection. This will be at the H4 time frame or the H1 time frame, and nothing below this. And as we said earlier, the confirmation, the candlestick has to close below this zone. So normally we will prepare to look for setup at this area. So if this is a H1 confirmation rejection, then we will look setup at the M30 all the way down. If this is a H4 rejection, then we will look for the H1 setup all the way down. Price will then come back to this area to take our orders and continue on the downtrend. Now let's at the SOP for the breakout when it breaks out at the danger zone SNR at the resistance. So this is the daily time frame. For example, again, it could be the weekly time frame, but I'm going to use the daily time frame as this occurs more often in the daily time frame. Okay, in this case, we will look into the second movement. It doesn't have to be at the second movement. It could be here at this resistance. It could happen here. It could happen at the second movement of the daily time frame as well. But I'm going to use the daily time frame second movement as an example of the breakout because this also occurs very often. So first, we go to the daily time frame. Second, we go to the line chart. Third, we mark the horizontal line at the edge of the resistance here. Fourth, we go back to the candlestick chart and then we mark our edge of resistance all the way to the shadow of the candlestick and mark this as our danger zone SNR at the daily time frame for resistance. Now if we go to the H4 time frame, so we are in the danger zone SNR for daily. Okay, nothing has changed. And then we mark our second movement for this H4 time frame. Now, when the price break out at the H4 time frame with a Marubozu candlestick on a bull, we can see that it will close above the resistance zone with a clean breakout. Once at the H4 time frame it broke on this resistance, price will normally comes back to test as a new support. Now since this is a danger zone SNR daily on the resistance, then we need to refer this at the H4 time frame or the daily time frame. But normally on the daily time frame of the SNR, we will look at the H4 because the daily time frame has not closed the candle here. It will take a very long time to come back here to retest as a new support if this is on the daily time frame. So we do not want to miss any setup opportunity. We look at the H4 time frame. Once there's a confirmation breakout on the bull Marubozu, price tests as a new support. Then it comes with a confirmation of rejection with a bullish engulfing or a candle reversal signal on the bull side at the H4 or H1 time frame and nothing below this if this is a danger zone SNR daily. If this one is a danger zone SNR weekly, then our confirmation is at the daily time frame or the H4 time frame. So please don't get confused. The breakout have to follow the same time frame as this, whereas the confirmation can be 1 or 2 time frame lower than the origin time frame that we are looking at. So once price comes in to this area, reject with a confirmation, we then can look for setup in this area. Normally price will make a QMR setup. Thereafter will be a continuation setup. If the rejection is at the H4 time frame, then we can look the setup at the H1 and below. If the price reject at the H1 time frame, then we can look setup from the M30 time frame and below. Price will then come back to this area and continue on the uptrend. So here I have shown 4 SOP for the danger zone SNR. 2 of it are the rejection, 2 of it are the breakout. So guys, doesn't matter whether rejection or breakout, after the price has react, then you have to wait for confirmation of rejection. Only then we can look for setup. Please guys, always be patient with the confirmation of rejection. Do not entry any setup if there is no confirmation of rejection at the zone. Guys, please jot down all this note. This is very important. Do not get mixed up the SOP as we will use this for our setup very often. I will see you at the next class.